Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Copy Chat brought to you by SAPIN, yes, the SA Properties Investors Network, where we teach, where we enable, and we grow. I'm very excited to have you viewing me for the next hour or so, and we have amazing guests as always. Firstly, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Please let me know where you're watching us from. Let me know in a thumbs up, or you can write it in. Also, please let me know if this is your first time watching us. It is a pleasure for us to host you, and let me know in the chat box if this is the first time that you are watching us. Subsequently, also please like, share, and subscribe to the SA Property Investors Network YouTube page so we can give you more episodes like this where you get a quick in-depth analysis and understanding of individuals in the property market, because we discuss any and all things encompassing the property market. So those of you who do not know who we are, it's simple. We are the SA Property Investors Network. We are a network of like-minded individuals who want to explore property entrepreneurship and also want to garner the knowledge. Our website is in the chat box, and also if you want to know more about us. First and foremost, we got to get straight to it. We are having phenomenal events. Like, it is jam-packed in September in terms of the events that we are going to be hosting. The first one is happening this Wednesday, and that is a wine tasting and networking premier event that's only available to the intermediate and professional members. So if you want to join in this network, and if you want to be part of our community, so you can get exclusive rights such as attending a wine tasting event, you will be able to do so if you just click on the link in our chat box. That's going to be happening on the 30th of August. And unfortunately, it's not open to the public, but all the more reason for you to join us in the intermediate or professional group. Next is a family favorite, and that is the road show. Yes, Daniel Kazadi and Andrew Walker are going to be headed to Cape Town, the mother city, although it's quite windy right now and cold. Thank you for the cold front, Cape Town. And they are going to be having networking events there on the 31st of August. That's going to be happening in Cape Town. Also, we're going to be having a mastermind online that's going to be happening on the 31st of August at 6 o'clock. And if you're part of our network, you absolutely need to book for that one. As you know, they're so insightful. And lastly, we are going to be having a event on the 14th of September. I do not understand how you guys have not booked for this, because it is one of the last big public events we're going to be having. That's, as always, is going to be in Bryanston, and we are going to be having something different. This is where we have actual property investors and property entrepreneurs give you live experiences of their property journey, and we will highlight the pros and the cons. We're not here to just give you all the glitz and glamour, the profits and the return on investment, but also the downsides and the mistakes that people made. And these are esteemed investors, and to show you that a network is always a good investment, because if you have the correct English will disappear to you during the live, people. However, the correct network will inspire you to actually not make the mistakes that our esteemed investors have made. So you guys need to get the tickets for that one. Link is in the chat box. So I want to see who I am chatting with. Let's see right now. Yes, the link is in the chat box. Oh, guys, are you shy? Is that happening? It's month end. It's month end. You guys need to be letting us know. I did say, as always, we have an amazing guest, and that is Bevin Thomas. We're going to be talking facilities management. Outside of your actual tenants, facilities management, in my personal opinion, is probably one of the most important avenues of growing your property portfolio. Because yes, the first thing you always need to do, especially if your investment strategy is structures, is actually understanding the particular structure. So if you're doing multi-lets, if you're doing buy-to-lets, if you're doing Airbnbs, if you're doing student accommodation, there is not a structure that does not include facilities management. And Bevin, our expert, is the one that's going to be discussing with us how to be efficient in that way. We do understand that prepaid meters are extortionate. We also have water meters, right? Because if you're doing, for example, student accommodation, we all know students can be very overzealous and free with their things because they're used to mom and pops. So, I put the shower on, and if nobody tells me that I need to, stop the shower, the water bill comes back and it is extortionate. So once you have contingencies in place and you have tools in place such as SAPIN-Prepaid, you will be able to, shrink your expenses, and therefore your cash flow will actually increase. And that is something we don't talk about enough, and that is facilities management. If you plan on growing your portfolio, or if you already have a large portfolio, what do you have in place to actually minimize the risk of people going wild in terms of facilities? So that's what we're going to be discussing a little later. And as I said, if this is the first time you are watching us, thank you so much and welcome. But please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also comment. This is an interactive show. You always have the opportunity to ask our guests any pressing questions you have on the particular topic. So I actually want you guys to engage with us, because I know you like looking at my pretty face. However, it is still an insightful engagement for the both of us. So what I would like to know from you guys is, where are you viewing me from? And also, if you have actually gotten the events that are happening. And I'm looking especially forward to the huge one, like I said, the public event that's going to be happening on the, let's see right here, 14th. Yes, on the 14th of September. I told you we have a lot of things happening in September. It is jam-packed. We're going out with a bang. And to the ladies, yes, SAPIN women, we are going to be having a breakfast on the 23rd of September. That's going to be happening in Edenvale. Just as a sports system, we just had a huge and very successful event in August. I was very, very happy to see all of you lovely ladies at our annual Women's Day event that happened a few weeks ago. But now we're going to be having a breakfast, just discussing certain things, encouragement, accountability. So I absolutely want to see you there. And then we're going to also be having a networking event in Pietermaritzburg. Yes, the coastal city, right? PE's younger cousin. And if you don't believe that, it's okay. Tell me in the chat box that you feel offended that I called Pietermaritzburg PE's younger cousin. However, that's going to be happening on the 28th of September. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want a few moments to discuss something that is very close to my heart, and that is Investor of the Year Award. If you're watching us, if you're interested in us, this is the first time you're watching us, you may not have heard about Investor of the Year. It is on our website, and I need each and every single one of you to enter. And if you're too shy, if you know somebody that is a property investor, it doesn't matter if they literally have a cottage behind their primary home, or they invested in their first, bachelor pad, whatever the deal is, be it you're huge in developments and you're doing 250 units, or you're doing big deals like student accommodation, or you're starting out, please, please, please enter the Investor of the Year Award. We're going to be discussing it in the upcoming weeks, but I just want to give you guys a heads up and let you know that the elites are going to be there. And if you are serious about property investing and you've already invested in property, no matter how big or small, you need to be recognized for your accomplishment, because getting into property investment is a feat on its own, and it's something that we know is not particularly easy, and that's why people are deterred from it, because they assume you need a lot of money and you need all of these, and we can supply you with the information, the knowledge, and the education on how to start and or grow your portfolio. And like I said, we're having a jam-packed September. I will be referring to these events in the upcoming weeks, but I need you guys to book the tickets for the 14th of September. It's one of our last huge public events, and I want to see each and every single one of you there. If you have not attended those, this should be your first one. If you've never, ever, ever attended a SAPIN networking event, this is the one that literally you need to launch yourself into our network about. As I said, the link is in the description. And ladies and gentlemen, the guest that we're going to be having is Bevin Thomas. Yes, so without further ado, this gentleman is always giving us golden nuggets. So today we have him one-on-one, and he's going to be giving us golden nuggets and even more when it comes to facilities management, which in my humble opinion is one of its top of the most important things that you need to know and understand if you plan to be a property investor. Because if you don't, then you probably shouldn't be watching me, and that's okay. But ladies and gentlemen, can I please have a loud and roaring applause in the chat box? Thumbs up for Bevin Thomas.
Good afternoon, Kelly. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm excited to be full time with you today.
It's well deserved. It's well deserved. How are you, Bevin?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Nice sunny day here in Durban, so we're not as windy as Cape Town, as you say. So we're good.
Okay, see, Durban and Joburg are winning. Anything that comes before Cape Town, I live for and I stand. But to the viewers, Bevin, who are not particularly aware of what it is that you actually do, can you just kind of give us a small introduction?
Perfect. Yeah. So I am based in Durban. I've actually been part of the SAPIN sort of family for maybe the last 6 or 7 years. I was very sort of involved in setting up SAPIN in Durban itself. A couple of years ago, or should I say at the beginning, I had a property coach helping me on my property journey. And my coach said to me, listen, one of the big things with Durban is there isn't a network group that's getting together. Why don't you start something up, Bevin? So I started just a small meetup at a coffee shop once a month where we were just getting together. There were maybe 4 or 5 of us to start with. And eventually that sort of snowballed to being a little bit more popular. And we had such a great turnout and great enthusiasm, everyone sort of learning and mentoring each other. And that worked brilliantly. And it was sort of at that stage when Andrew suggested, hey, let's bring the Durban network into the SAPIN community. And I think that's been quite awesome. So over the last 5-6 years, we've been slowly growing KZN and making sure like there's a presence in Durban, KZN. We've added on Pietermaritzburg quite strongly this year. So I pretty much head up the Durban area, and we've got a great area manager in Tando who heads up Pietermaritzburg. So it's quite nice to know that Joburg isn't really getting all the fun. We're starting to introduce some good stuff happening in Durban. My background is in construction and specifically in commercial maintenance. So I've got quite a nice broad sort of understanding and awareness and technical understanding on maintenance, on sort of project management, etc., and especially the facilities management. And through that, it's kind of organically rolled into this passion for property investing, making sure that I'm putting my skills to test and actually using them properly for my own interest. And I'd say probably through experiencing that, I'm often surprised that a lot of people don't have sort of the general knowledge of certain things around managing their properties from a facilities perspective. So I've taken a little bit of time to move away from that surprise and to say, like, actually, there's a great opportunity for us as a group, as in SAPIN itself, to make sure everyone is educated, make sure they're not missing out on opportunities, and making sure that they're leveraging and making their properties perform the best that they can. So I think that's been a big initiative over the last couple of months to introduce this facilities management program. And maybe just mentioning on that, so every 2 weeks on a Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we do more of a formal session around the facilities management. And I'm sort of rolling out almost a module on all these key things that you should be looking after. So I really do suggest that you jump onto the SAPIN Facebook page, the SAPIN YouTube page, and dial in to those live events every second Thursday. So we had one last week Thursday, we'll have another one next week Thursday, and we'll jump a bit more deeper into that. Another thing that, sorry, Kali, maybe you carry on?
Go ahead.
So sorry. Yeah. So another thing that maybe bolts on very well to the facilities management element is a area of utilities management. And that was also something that was quite surprising to me, is how few people are aware of the whole journey of your utilities management, managing your water, managing your electricity, managing your municipality bills, etc. So that's something, again, through my journey as a property investor over the last few years, I've been very involved in managing portfolios within a group of syndicate investors. And I was at one stage managing 172 residential tenants, and with that over multiple properties. And that in itself gave me such a great understanding of the different solutions that are out there and available, and then also interacting with all the members at the SAPIN networking events in these sort of forums. I've learned a huge amount, and we kind of identified a great space for making sure that people are actually getting the best from managing their utilities. So we'll maybe spend a bit of time today, Kali, unpacking the idea of prepaid meters.
All right, and I do understand that you do have a presentation for us, just literally going from the basics, the basic understanding. And a lot of people assume they get it, but you've come to the knowledge that the average person doesn't quite comprehend facility management and what exactly it entails. So you can take it away in terms of sharing that.
Awesome, awesome. So I have shared that if you want to pop that up. And
Yes.
I think what's important about this is to really make sure that everyone isn't acting sort of intuitively or in the dark and trying to guess what they need to do. Unfortunately, what tends to happen as property investors, we go, cool, I've got my property. Oh, maybe I need a prepaid meter. So we Google quickly and we find the cheapest meter. We install that, and then we're not really stuck with the right solution that we need. And unfortunately, when you've invested in the hardware, you've linked to the software in the background, etc., and you're stuck. You're tied into that journey. So part of the journey for us as SAPIN-Prepaid is to make sure that there's no guesswork for all our members, for all the investors out there, because we want you to receive like the ammunition to be able to make the right decisions. So with this, feel free to reach out to us at any time on the SAPIN Connect page and look for the prepaid section. So SAPIN Connect, it's on SAPIN Connect itself on the website. And reach out to us. That normally comes straight to me. If you've got any questions, don't worry. If you feel like it's a silly question, don't be afraid of asking it. Drop a question, and I'm really very willing and able to help you, give you the right solutions and answers. Today, I want to really just quickly introduce you to the full concept around prepaid meters. So on SAPIN-Prepaid side, we look after you on the electricity side, which everyone's very familiar with, on the water side, and then in certain unique situations, there's potential for gas prepaid meters. So where that makes sense is in your commercial units, in sort of maybe a body corporate or something like that, where you're trying to make your units a little bit more load shedding friendly. So jumping into it, I think what's very important is to understand the idea of you as the landlord being this person who is buying the electricity from the municipality and you selling it to your tenants. And I think that's the fundamental of it. I came across a couple of landlords who kind of just assumed that as soon as their prepaid meters were in the property, they are not responsible for the municipality electricity anymore because there's a prepaid meter. So it's good to understand the distinction between your municipality meter or your ESCOM meter and your sub meters, which are what you are using to sell the electricity to your tenants or your water to your tenants. So I'm going to put up here a nice little drawing just to explain the intricacies of it. So over here we've got a prepaid municipality meter. So it can either be a prepaid meter or it can be your old digital analog meter where there's a reading that is taken every month by the municipality and then they invoice you. If it's a prepaid meter, that gives the municipality a little bit of a reduced admin process, but you're still responsible for purchasing the electricity for the municipality meter. Then from there, you install a sub meter. So this is what SAPIN-Prepaid would supply to you, is a sub meter. And what you do with that meter is you are basically selling the electricity that you buy from the municipality to the tenant through the sub meter. And the sub meter just gives you a method to control how your tenants are purchasing the electricity. That meter goes in front of your DB. So before your electrical distribution board, where all your circuit breakers are in there. So you would have your plugs, your lights, your geyser, circuit breakers, your stoves, etc. And then from that dB, it would then branch off to the geysers, the plugs, the lights, etc. So again, you buy the electricity from the municipality, you sell it to your tenants through your sub meters, and it then allows the tenants to have electricity at the individual points in the property, okay, or in their distribution board. What then happens is that the tenant goes online and they purchase a token for a certain volume of kilowatt hours, and they load that onto the prepaid meter. So that those kilowatt hours go onto the prepaid meter. Say they spend 100 Rand and they get maybe 50 kilowatt hours that are loaded on. So they get 50 units that are loaded onto their prepaid meter. And then they are able to use that electricity until it dials down to zero. Then they have to purchase another token, load it onto the meter, and then it activates the meter again. At the end of the month, all those funds that the tenant purchases are then bulked together, and the vending company then pays that into the landlord's bank account. So there is an option where you can have the vending company pay that money directly into your municipality account. However, I don't really recommend that, because it means that you're not paying attention enough to what's coming in. So I really do suggest you pay attention to what's coming into your account. That way you can compare it to what's going out of your account. Okay, so that money comes from the prepaid meter vending company, gets paid into your bank account, and then you're responsible to pay your municipality account or your Eskom bill, which is then you purchasing the electricity, and the cycle starts again where you then sell the electricity to your tenants. And then just a drawing here on the sort of how to deal with it from a multi-let perspective. Again, you've got your municipality meter, and then you can have as many sub-meters as you want for the different sections of a multi-let property, or for a body corporate, or for a block of flats, etc. So you, as the owner of the property, would be responsible for the main meter, and then the tenants are responsible for the electricity for their individual meters. And that then runs through the same cycle as well. So just an example around the different types of meters. So what I've got here is, a lot of us are familiar with this sort of what I like to call a dumb meter that goes next to your distribution board. And that's basically wired straight in. So your water goes, your electricity main supply goes through this meter into your distribution board, and then to the different circuit breakers that then supply the different appliances in the property. And then on the left here, I've got an image of what is called a split meter. It's also a dumb meter because it's not smart enabled in this situation. And this is, what's nice about this is you have a keypad like this that's just plugged in inside the unit itself. So if you've got a flat, it's plugged in the flat next to your microwave, your kettle, or whatever. And in a distribution board or a kiosk outside of the property, locked away, you then have the meter itself. What's nice about that is, being split, the tenant only has access to their keypad. They don't have access to the meter itself. And this becomes reduces the risk of them bypassing meters, etc. Versus these old style meters, they've got access to the distribution board inside the unit, they've got access to the meter, and these are the ones that get bypassed very often, versus these ones are a lot harder to bypass unless they're breaking into that kiosk on the outside. So that's one element of it. Here's another example of that kiosk. So this kiosk is way outside the property, and only the security guard has access to this kiosk, and then that keypad itself inside the unit. And then what's nice is those prepaid meters can actually be converted into a smart prepaid meter. So you have the meter itself in the kiosk, you have the keypad inside the unit, and then they add on these two devices. So one is a data concentrator, and then one is a communication device. So what happens is, and I sort of only recommend these meters in buildings where there's more than 20 units that are going to run through your smart meter, because it's a little bit more of an expensive solution, and then there's also communication costs involved in it. But the beautiful thing about it is all the information from your meters is concentrated through this concentrator, and then it's basically posted to the cloud through the communication module, and you are able to have a look at your meters on a smart app, which allows you to see exactly how much electricity your tenant is using right now, and it then gives you that information that you're able to use to monitor and measure the performance of your properties more effectively. Versus the dumb meters, all you can pay attention to is what the tenant purchases. So the smart meter, there's no way that they can bypass it, because you can see exactly how much electricity is being used at any given time. So the smart meters are brilliant for that. And then touching on the idea of water meters, there's obviously, I've explained the electricity meter, which a lot of people are familiar with. You can then do water meters as well. The water meter comes in a format like this, or else there's another one here. What's nice about this community that we're in is a couple of months ago, Robin Booth mentioned this meter on the left here, which is probably one of your most common meters that are sold in South Africa. And with that, it comes with this little white box. Unfortunately, this white box doesn't have the ability to change your battery. And so what happens is when that battery in that device dies, you actually have to swap out the whole device itself. So what we've done is we've learned from that experience, from sort of the network, from the community, and as a result, we're mainly focusing on these new keypads where there's a battery that can be removed and replaced. So that's just something to know about that. And then just looking here, these are ways that those water meters can be installed. So in a little manhole or handhole, or else the meters are installed on the wall itself. Basically, your main supply comes up, you install the water meter in line, and then the water then supplies directly to the unit. So what's nice about a water meter is you can have it for the whole property. So I suggest doing that next to the municipality meter. And then you can do individual water meters into each one of your rental units. So if you're doing a multi-let and you've got a couple of bachelor units, room rental units, shared bathrooms, etc., I really strongly advise people to put prepaid water meters into those sections, because then that helps you, from your management perspective, managing the community on your property, is those people who are using those facilities are responsible for all the consumption going through those facilities. So I think that's an important one for me. And then also on the water meter, what really I advise the most, and I think is probably the most powerful thing about using a prepaid water meter, is if you have it next to your municipality water meter, if there is a burst pipe under the ground between your municipality water and the building itself, or if there's a burst geyser in the property, what tends to happen is if you've got a normal meter and no one is home when the pipe bursts, or no one sees that there's a burst pipe, then the water just keeps running and running and running. On some of our properties, we've had that experience where the pipe has burst down the side of the property, no one's been aware of it, and we only find out at the end of the month when we get the municipality bill, and it's like a 65,000 Rand municipality bill. And I've heard a lot of horror stories like that from other members in the SAPIN community who have had burst pipes and ended up with these big bills from the water, because even if your pipe is burst, you're still responsible to pay the municipality for them to supply that water. So what's nice about a prepaid meter is if you know that your property is going to use 1,000 Rand on average a week, or maybe it's 500 Rand a week, then you load 500 Rand a week. And if by Wednesday the water has run out, then you know, hey, there's a problem on this property. A, you need to reprimand your tenants to tell them to look after their water consumption, or B, you need to send a plumber to go and look for a burst pipe or a burst geyser, etc. So that for me is one of the most powerful tools around using a prepaid water meter. And then the other side to the prepaid water meter I find with tenants is if you're doing readings the hard way, the manual way, the administrative intense way, then you're going and you're taking a reading of the meter every month and you're sending an invoice to the tenant, and then you're waiting for the tenant to pay for their water consumption. And there's this headache of you obviously following up, chasing. So prepaid meter removes that headache. And then also on the water side, what I found is if there's a leaking toilet, a tenant never reports that leak to you. They always go, oh, there's a leaking toilet, that's why my water bill's so high. I'm not paying. You must come fix your toilet, Mr. Landlord. Versus if they are paying for prepaid water, their mindset changes and they go, hey, Mr. Landlord, please come fix my toilet. It's wasting my water. And they're proactive. So it makes a huge difference from that perspective. So I really think the water meters are no-brainers. And then what you can do on top of that is you can look into doing smart prepaid water meters, and those work very well again for when you've got 20 units or more, and you can do that smart electricity meter, smart water meter, and you link those two together. And you can see here there's an option for cold water supply and for hot water supply. The trend now for the municipalities and planning divisions is to say that you can't have individual geysers in every single one of your units. So when it's a bigger unit, they're trying to conserve energy. They're forcing people to install bulk hot water supply solutions. So there's a solution around hot water prepaid metering as well. And then just quickly touching on the idea of gas meters, it works in the same manner. And where that potentially works very well is if you do a kiosk outside of the property in a safe area where no one's got access to, and then you basically plumb the gas to the individual units, and each one of those units pays for their consumption, and then you are able to replace the 48 kg bottles on a monthly arrangement. There's no interfering with the main gas, so that increases your safety elements of it. So that's pretty much everything on the prepaid meter stuff. Kali, I think you can stop sharing there, and then we can come back to some questions.
Okay, that was insightful. That was a lot, as always. I think you touched on such key points, which is firstly getting a prepaid meter for gas, because I know it's like a running joke across communities, is to be like, if only you knew how much you've used in terms of gas, because most times, especially with gas, and it's increasingly becoming a new alternative for, like, for example, people who can't go to the traditional solars or things like that. They're like, okay, I'll use gas, but then now it usually runs out on the worst of times. And that's because I didn't know how much I still had left or how much I had to replace. So with that, I think having prepaid gas meters is actually quite crucial. And even in the terms of when you put individual water meters, people then are more conscious of the consumption and the usage because they are paying for it themselves. Versus, if something happens, but they know it's not their problem, they're very lax about it, and you only find out later when you get hit with the big bill. I think we're going to just go, and I have a few questions too, but let's go straight to the comments in terms of the questions. The first one is from Samkelo Glovu, and they want to know, they're saying, hi, Bevin and Kali. Hello. As a landlord, can I get a rebate on my tenant's spend?
Awesome question, that one. So I appreciate that one being asked. So there's one thing to be aware of is from a lease perspective, we're not able to charge our tenants a markup on utilities. So if your tenant pays R1.60, should I say, if you pay R1.60 a kilowatt hour, you need to charge your tenant R1.60. So it's actually R2.60 now, not R1.60. So we're paying a lot more. But then, so whatever you are paying for the electricity or for the water is what you are able to charge your tenant. However, what's brilliant about this relationship that we now have with SAPIN-Prepaid is that for the SAPIN professional members and the SAPIN intermediate members, we're trying to sort of create more value for those memberships. And what we've managed to do is negotiate a little bit of a commission share from the vending company. So what that means is the tenant themselves pay an administration charge for purchasing their electricity or for purchasing their water. And what we've managed to negotiate is a percentage of that is then being able to be paid back to our landlords. And so any professional members or intermediate members, part of SAPIN community, you're then able to take advantage of that. And what's also nice about that is if you are a SAPIN professional member and you are part of a network or a group who then is aware of a nice property that's going to need prepaid meters, there's also a little bit of a referral incentive there that you can take advantage of. So instead of being able to charge a markup on your water or electricity, you're able to benefit from that administration fee and get a little bit back that way. And I think that
All
works
right.
very well for us.
Okay, so we also have, as we keep the questions going, from Sam, not the same as Sam Gang, different one, the Sams. He says, hi, hello. Is it possible to change old meters to smart meters, and how much are smart meters?
Okay, so good question. So if they are those split meters and they're sort of a more recent, newer version, then there is the potential to change those to smart meters. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, what you would do is then you wire it into a communicating module, and in that communicating module consolidates all the information from the meters and communicates it through to the cloud. So that is possible. It all depends on what meters are installed on the property. If they are the old style dumb meters next to the DB, then no, it's not possible to convert that. However, you can purchase one of those small dumb meters and have it next to, or not a dumb meter, but you can one that's similar to that smaller dumb meter and have it installed next to your DB. And those are in the region of about 1,100 or 1,200 Rand. But with that, the only caveat to it is that you end up having to pay a SIM subscription, because then that is using GSM communication to actually upload the information to the cloud. So that doesn't really become very feasible. And then often if your property is in an area or your unit isn't in a good signal area, then it almost becomes a wasted solution. So that's something that you need to dig a little bit more and sort of take it case by case. But then having said that, to do a bigger complex, obviously when you're scaling it, if you're installing new, it's great to just to go with the right solution from the start, where you can put in a split meter and then look at it and go, okay, in a year's time, I'm going to upgrade that to a smart meter system. So there's ways to solve the problem going forward that way.
Alrighty then. We have quite a few questions, and that's fantastic. Please put your questions in the chat box. This one is from Lineo, and she wants to know: I have a house with one distribution board, but I have 5 tenants occupying the house. Can multiple subs be installed from one distribution board, especially for the plug-ins in different rooms?
100%. Yeah. So this is an awesome one. And again, like this is why I love the fact that we've done the SAPIN-Prepaid journey, is because so many of us are out there in the dark and we're too afraid to ask these questions. So drop these questions. There are so many great solutions that we've seen on our journey with SAPIN-Prepaid. So this is a great example. Again, we come down to this idea as landlords. We want to be profitable. And one of the big things that we need to focus on profit for is our time allocation. We want to scale this business, our portfolios, etc. So we want to reduce the administration that goes into our portfolio. So for me, it's a no-brainer. If you've got a multi-let, put prepaid meters in. So on the prepaid electricity side, it's a lot easier. What you would then do is there's a main supply that comes into the main property, and you would then feed some of the common area electricity would come off of the main supply. And then what you would do is in each of the individual rooms, you would install a small little distribution board and a prepaid meter. And that prepaid meter, the main supply would then branch off to that prepaid meter into the small distribution board, which would then supply an earth leakage a light circuit breaker and a plug circuit breaker, and that would then be wired to your plugs, to your lights. And in that room itself, your tenant is responsible for what they consume in their room, and you as the landlord are probably more responsible for the common areas, the kitchens, etc. So what's nice about that is something we've done in our student accommodation buildings is we put a prepaid meter into the room. Generally with students, you have to provide your utilities, your water, your lights. However, what we want to do as landlords is we want to reduce wastage. So what I normally end up doing is I say, okay, fine, you've got electricity available, but I'm only providing you a certain amount for free in your room. If you use anything over and above that, then you're obviously overusing or you're abusing it. So you need to pay for anything extra you use. And so by doing that, I do that same system, install a prepaid meter, and link that to the plugs and the lights in that room. And what I found is when a student or tenant leaves that room, because they're paying for the electricity in their room, they turn off the lights, they turn off their devices, etc. And so as they can make their electricity last longer. The other benefit of it is it prevents them from using heaters in their room, which are high kilowatt hour usage devices. So those are like such great solutions. And then the other side is on the water. So you can do the water. You can do, if you've got a multi-let unit and you've got a unit that's more like a bachelor unit and they're not sharing a bathroom, you want that tenant to specifically be responsible for their consumption. So you would do one prepaid water meter to their water, to their bathroom. If there's a shared bathroom facility, you do a prepaid meter to that bathroom, and anyone who is sharing that meter or that bathroom is then responsible for putting water onto that prepaid meter. I think that's quite like a broad description of it all, but feel free to reach out to us via the SAPIN Connect page, and we can make sure that we're giving you the right solution for your specific property.
Fantastic. And as we go on to our last question, Sam wants to know what can be done to fix the meter that constantly shows the number 30 and does not even accept new units. I would say replace it. However, Bevin is the expert. So, Bevin, what do you have for that?
Okay, so this one is really meter specific. So there's obviously a fault on this meter. So what I suggest is depending on what vending company your meter is with, you need to, when you're in front of the meter, phone the vending company, phone their call center line and tell them what the error code is, and they'll walk you through putting in a clearing code, etc., and getting that meter to stop showing that error.
All righty then. Thank you so much for that, Bevin. And so to the individuals that honestly want to come into contact with you and want to explore SAPIN-Prepaid and engage with you in terms of facilitating any meterage or them changing from old school meters to prepaid meters, how can they know about your company? Like, how can they get into contact with you?
So I see just dropped there into the SAPIN Connect page on the link now. So that's the best way to get hold of us is go through the SAPIN Connect page and fill in the little form at the bottom of the prepaid meter page. So you'll see us there on SAPIN-Prepaid on the SAPIN Connect page. Fill in that form. It will drop an email through to my inbox, and then I can help you directly. The nice thing about that is that gives us the ability to see that you are part of this community with SAPIN, and we're able to make sure that you are prioritized in this journey.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Bevin. And like he said, if you want to contact Bevin, if you have any questions or you honestly want to take this journey forward in terms of revitalizing your portfolio and putting in contingency plans for efficient facilities management, the link is in the chat box. So go to SAPIN Connect. But thank you so much, Bevin. Always a pleasure. And I will see you next week, as always, for your golden nugget.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, before we depart, I just want to give you another rundown of our events. I said it before when we started out. We have a jam-packed September and just jam-packed events, but we're going to start with the fact that we are having a premier event in Peter Maritzburg that's going to be on the 28th of September. So all the individuals from Peter Maritzburg, please book your tickets. We want to have a phenomenal day with you guys. Next up, ladies, on the 23rd of September, we're going to be having a breakfast for SAPIN women. All the ladies in property, you can network, engage, ask questions, have accountability for that event. And then next up, on Thursday, 14th September, we're going to be having a coaching and legal support webinar. That is only for our members. So please, the link is in the chat box for a registration for that one. And this one is the one I'm super excited for. On the 14th of September, we are having one of the last big public events in this calendar year. So that's going to be happening in Bryanston. We're going to have real in-depth experience exchanges with investors, the good, the bad, and yes, the ugly. Right, we're going to be discussing that, and they're going to be telling us their mistakes, their greatness. But the beauty of this is that you will have an actual impactful public event, and that's, like I said, one of the last big ones that we're going to be having. Next, we are going to be having a webinar that's going to be happening in Cape Town. The details of that are going to be coming soon. Also, don't forget, on the 31st, we are having a mastermind that's going to be online. And lastly, we are going to be having the road show. Yes, our family favorite, Andrew and Daniel, are going to be coming to Cape Town. And literally, on the 30th, this Wednesday, intermediate professional members, we have an exquisite premier event for you that's happening on the 30th in Edenvale, and it's a wine tasting and networking event. We're going to be having key individuals in the property networks and experts, and just phenomenal people are going to be attending. So if you're a premier event or an intermediate, please get your tickets. That was a mouthful, but yes, that is the rundown of our events. And as always, next week we're going to be talking about offer to purchase. I know there's a standard understanding of those, but we are going to unpack the OTP, the illustrious OTP that people are somewhat scared of. We're going to be unpacking that next week, and that's the topic. So, as always, from me to you, thank you for joining us. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you